I feel like we don't talk about the annoying fan bases in the NHL enough.
Hey, this is Brain Chen.
Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about some annoying fans that I feel like kind of bother me as a Blues fan, right? And I even asked you on X your thoughts on this one. Snuggerud, yes, Jimmy Snuggerud, it's his season. What does that mean? Well, I have a lot of honestly excitement towards him. And I also think Dvorsky is going to have a great season as well, but Snugs is going to shine. And then finally, we have a good team. There's no need to panic. I have seen the panic in so many people's tweets, not eyes, but tweets. And I think at the end of the day, the Blues are an underdog team. In a sense, we're going to get into that, but I think that there's just a lot of panicking for no reason. I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Before I continue this episode, I know I've been kind of missing. The last day that I filmed was Wednesday. It's now Saturday. And the reason for that is I don't know if you saw on social media, but I have COVID. Um, I know. It's crazy. JD from Locked On Cardinals was like, "What year is it?" I did not think that, and maybe this was my ignorance. I just didn't think that it was, spreading how it used to. There's a new strain, and I got it. So on Thursday and Friday, I had no voice at all. I felt like razor blades in my throat. It was really bad. Um, I'm on a lot of medicine right now. I can't smell, I can't taste. So the reason why I'm saying that is one, if you just hear a lot of pauses in the episode and it seems a little bit unnatural, that's because I either have to sneeze or I'm trying to catch my breath because this is exhausting. And if I'm not as energetic as I usually am or I sound a little bit nasally, I do apologize and I am so sorry for that. But I am really excited to talk Blues hockey because it's been it's been brutal. So one of the points that I had, I believe this was on Wednesday's episode, was I was kind of getting into teams that are going to be rivals for the Blues for this upcoming season. And one of the things that I talked about, I got kind of sidetracked, right? That happens time to time. And it was about the fan bases because there's a couple teams, let's keep it 100, that we don't like, okay? They have annoying fans, actually really bad fans. So I began roasting some fan bases. And I decided to ask you on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, about some of the fan bases that annoy you the most. And I never got to react to this, considering that I ended up not having a voice. Um, so I'm gonna do that now. We got a bunch of replies. So I said, "What fan base is the most annoying?" Now, granted, this is from a Blues perspective. So if you're a fan of like the Islanders, you're gonna be like, "Oh, well, maybe I don't find this fan base annoying." Well, that's because you don't have to deal with them how we have to deal with them. So take that with a grain of salt. So I said, I'm going to start this off. I said Chicago, Edmonton, San Jose. That's a solid top three, in my opinion. Alex said, I'm surprised no one has said the Canucks. They're the most slept on, annoying fan base in the league. Their fans make me cringe. Now, the thing about Vancouver is I don't think that they're so-called like the most slept on for being annoying. I don't really see that from Vancouver, and I'm not on here trying to defend the Canucks by any means because it's everybody versus the Blues. Um, but I wouldn't say that. The Drop Hockey Show said the Leafs, and I think that yes, I think, like, overall in the NHL, not, like, from a Blues perspective, right? But just an overall, yeah, they're an annoying fan base, but I think they're just, like, a fan base that's used to disappointment, and I'm not on here trying to roast the Leafs. I mean, I know Rob said the Leafs as well. But I think for me, when it comes to Toronto, I think they're just like a very passionate fan base. And they have star players, players that don't always deliver how they should. So I think that there is a sense of arrogance, but I also think it's a sense of pride. Like there's a lot that goes into being a Maple Leafs fan from what I can see. I think that it's fair for you and I to say that Toronto has dealt just with a lot of unfortunate situations. And I mean, it sucks that's, how their fan base is, but it's more of a sense of I think they just have a lot of pride in their team and yeah. Pavel said Leafs, Habs. Yeah, I could see that with the Canadians, especially with everything that just went down. Bruins, 100% Boston fans are arrogant. Flyers, yeah, I guess. I think they're just sad. And Penguins. Well, the thing about the Penguins is that it was Sidney Crosby's birthday the other day, and on social media, they're like, "He's so much better than Ovechkin and he better than Gretzky." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like, Penguins fans are just, insufferable. Amy says, "Leafs, even though their own players can't stand them." I mean, we saw and I just wanna say this, we saw what the Leafs did to Mitch Marner and how they kinda turned on him, but again, that's a whole rabbit hole. Um, Time to BS podcast said, "Leafs, but there's a wee bit of sympathy for them considering how they haven't won anything since the '60s. Pittsburgh is up there too." Now, I want to know, are the Penguins up there because of Crosby? Mike said Nashville. Kevin said Leafs, and it's not even close. Old Stuff said Boston. Now, it's interesting because I feel like with the Bruins, right? Obviously, we beat the Bruins to win the cup. Like, the fan base was annoying then, but I mean, I understand because it's, like, the Stanley Cup Finals, but a again, like, when you play a team that's in a different conference than you don't see them as much, so it's interesting that there's a lot of Blues fans saying, Boston, considering that we beat them. Bob Thomas, I love that name, Bob Thomas. Minnesota Mild fans. I'm gonna like that, that's funny. Minnesota Mild fans. Oh, and Seth just messaged me today to do a crossover, and I really now wanna send him that and just be like, "Hey, Seth, are we gonna be talking about the Minnesota Mild?" That's a good one. It's funny, I've been a Blues fan my whole life, and I never even thought to, like, say that, which is funny. When I began laughing, it kind of, like my sinuses kind of, like, felt it, so I was like, "Oh my gosh." Joseph said Trashville. Yeah, I mean, I just think that Nashville's so irrelevant, so I don't even worry about them. Sen said Leafs and Habs. Obviously, if you're a Senators fan, you're gonna say that. CV Cards said the Vegas Golden Knights. Thank you, finally. That fan base has it so good. So good. Your inaugural season, you make it to the finals, you then win the cup a little bit later. Like, Vegas has had it so good, and their fans act like, "We've had it tough." No, you haven't. You have not had it tough, so I'm happy someone finally said that. Like, Vegas has had it easy. Blues fan in Vegas as and that's I love the timing. Blues fan in Vegas said Sharks, agreed with the Sharks, with the Leafs and the Canadians close behind. I think that's like a universal thing. The Canadians, I think, because of the most recent situation with the trade of Bolduc and Mayu, I can understand that. Mike said Oilers. Yeah, that's what I said. Again, like Edmonton fans are just, in my opinion, toxic. Code said Leafs. David said Oilers. Ricky said Avalanche. A potentially optimistic St. Louis Blues fan said, right now, Habs fans easily overall Hawks or Leafs fans. St. Louis town. Crier said Leafs. And then Crier McGregor said Winnipeg and their stupid idiot whiteouts. Oh, wow. Wow, that was a little aggressive. I think with the Jets fans is that I wouldn't say I think they're the most annoying. Um, ah, it's tough. I think they're just like a very passionate fan base. But overall, I think we can all agree that the Montreal Canadiens were the most, I mean, not the Montreal Canadiens, that the Toronto Maple Leafs were the most annoying fan base. Notice how it's like a lot of Canadian teams? Yeah, I noticed that too. All right, I want to talk to my friends over at Game Time. Again, thanks for bearing with me on today's episode. I know my voice does not sound good, and I don't look that great either, so it's a mess. But anyways, Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you're suddenly realizing that you want to be in the stands. Well, that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. For me personally, Game Time is how I buy my tickets when I see the Blues. Let's go Blues. But also they have great deals for the Cardinals. I don't know if you saw that kid that wants to be like an well, yeah, he went to the whole series. Probably used Game Time. So, anyways, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So, I talked about how Jimmy Snuggerud is going to have an incredible season. And I think he is. He proved himself tremendously last season. While he only did play 7 regular season games and then the 7 games in the playoffs, there was a lot of potential for growth with him, but overall, there seems to be something brewing within him. His decision making on the ice is what had me most excited because hockey IQ, I know that's something that you hear a lot when it comes to the draft, right? Every draft expert talks about hockey IQ. Oh, this kid has good hockey IQ. Well, it actually does matter and it translates into how a player is on the ice in the NHL. It's not just a term that people throw around for fun, it's an actual term that kind of dictates how a player is going to be with his decision making, whether that's passing the puck or taking a shot. I know, very basic things that I'm saying right now. But as basic as it sounds, it's actually very advanced how Snuggerud played. And I was looking back, I mean, as I said, I've been sick, so like I've been bored. And I was looking back at tapes of him playing this season. And the one thing that I noticed about him, he does a really good job. And this is, again, sick, I'm bored, whatever. I'm a loser because all I do is like watch WWE and hockey. But when he had the puck, and I noticed this a lot, especially in the playoffs, he's able to quickly glance, like, and I kind of slowed it down to where I could see his eyes. And he was able to glance and kind of see what was around him. And then based off of that, he was able to either make a pass or continue on with the puck. And I felt like his decision making, because again, you only have a split second usually to make a decision, was very on par with some of the more veteran players on the team. And I think for me, while we only saw a total of 14 games, obviously, we saw the 7 in the playoffs, and as I mentioned, 7 regular season. That to me just makes me really excited for a full 82 game season with Jimmy Snuggerud, with hopefully no injuries. Not always guaranteed, but that's always the goal. Yes, I think he's gonna make the team out of camp. Like, that's not even a question. Not even a question. Another player who I think is going to make it out of camp is Dvorsky. And sure, was it not that great when he got called up? No. It was a couple games, okay? I think that he knew what he needed to work on, and I think that he's going to come in a lot stronger. This is a guy that, and I'll say this again, who we drafted for a reason here in St. Louis. There's so much potential with him. He has such a good skill set with his puck handling and just so much more. He has a great shot. I think it's unfair sometimes to just judge a player off of a couple games. And that's where then we talk about Logan Mayu, where he played why is it always 7? Well, I know because they have to stay under at 9 or what. I know the rule. Um I just think seven's a funny number, but played 7 games, wasn't so great. But again, you cannot judge a player, in my opinion, that has a potential to be a franchise player off of just such a limited amount of games on ice. I mean, as I mentioned, Dvorsky was like 2. So can you really say, "Oh, well, he's a bust"? No, what you say is, "You know what? He held his own. Maybe it wasn't so great, but now he knows what he had to work on, and he's gonna come into camp so much." And that to me is what makes me more excited about him as a player because I think that he is one of those guys that actually puts in the work and doesn't just say it. And that's not me calling out any other player at all. I'm just saying a simple statement because I've been around hundreds of hockey players in my 5 years of being a credential media member for another team. And I've seen players say all the right things, and then I'm watching them at practice, and I'm like, "What are they doing?" And, it's not a diss, but it's the truth that there's not a lot of players that don't do what they say, but there's enough players that do that, and then you question, are they actually serious about making it into the NHL? And I think back, there was this one player, and I'm not gonna call him out by name, um, like, I know he wanted to be in the NHL. There was a lot of potential with him, a lot of promise with him. He was under delivering, to say the least, and he just didn't seem to put the effort in at practice, and it was really, really noticed, and this was not on the Blues, by the way, different team. And he ended up playing, I believe it was somewhere in Europe, maybe it was like the KHL, maybe somewhere, got cut, I believe. The point is that you have to fight for your job because despite you being drafted, it's still a privilege to be in the NHL. And I think that these younger guys that the Blues have drafted in recent years, they get it. I know Dvorsky gets it. Jimmy Snuggerud gets it. Justin Carbonneau, who we just drafted, he gets it. I mean, Justin Carbonneau, when I spoke to him, and he told me that he looks up to players like a Jordan Kyrou, I mean, that means something. And he was emotional about wearing the blue note. That means something. I think that as fans, we put a lot of pressure on our players because we want them to perform the way that they were sold to us, right? When we hear, how they were at juniors or collegiate, and we hear all of these things about what they've accomplished and why the scouts love them, we're going to be excited to see what they do for us here in the NHL level. And then if they don't do that, it's kind of like a slap in the face. Wow, we wasted a draft pick because again, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but it's hard to get a good draft pick. Not the player I'm talking about, like the actual pick itself. Like being within like the top 10. That's a difficult task. You usually have to give up stuff. Like unless you win the lottery, but it's like not always easy, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like in my opinion, I know some of the guys that we drafted were a little bit later on, but I feel pretty good. I do. And I'm not worried about Dvorsky. I feel very confident when it comes to Dvorsky, but I do think Jimmy Snuggerud is going to have a great, great season. All right. Before I continue on, thank you for bearing with me in today's episode of Locked On Blues. I am so sorry if this isn't the normal Haley that you're used to. Voice doesn't sound as crisp and clean. Um, again, I want to talk hockey, and yeah, that's all it is. So make sure to go on to YouTube and like and subscribe to Locked On Blues or on any of your podcasting like devices like Spotify, Apple Music, you name it. Give a 5-star, give a review saying that HTS Talking Blues, music to my ears, even though this is like not music. So I don't know. But anyways, thank you again. Let's have a brief conversation because I'm out of energy. I'm not gonna lie to you. This has been very difficult. But I do want to say that I do think we have a good team. I know that there's been some people that are a little bit displeased with what's gone on this offseason with the Blues. I've seen comments saying, what is Doug doing? Doug's not doing enough. And I think personally, he doesn't need to do much. I know. Coming from the person that wishes that he did a little bit more, I kind of took a step back and I kind of evaluated the Blues. And I thought to myself, they have the goalies. They have a pretty damn good offense, okay? Defense, a little iffy. But hear me out. It's not horrible. We still have a player on defense that will be going to the Olympics, most likely. So I think that we put ourselves in a position, and I don't think we do it on purpose. I think it's because it's hard, and I think this is true with all sports. It's hard to have that mentality of, wow, we have a pretty damn good hockey team, because it's like, unless you're winning the cup, at that very moment you hoist the cup, there's always something that you feel like you could tweak about the team to make it better. And I think that just goes to show with the season that we won the cup, 18-19. I mean, we were a mess. And I wish I was doing the podcast then because like we were a mess. Like we were god awful in the beginning of the season. Heck, we were god awful even in the middle of the season. But then I'm telling you, miracles can happen. I mean, we're proof. And we became the best hockey team in the NHL of that season. So, yeah, I mean, I wish that, we could always know the outcome of how the season's going to be because then that maybe would have allowed us to celebrate, a little bit more prior to winning the cup and just, enjoying it more. But I'm not going to lie to you. That season stressed me out. Like, it really did. And I think that this season, the expectation should be, hey, let's just get into the playoffs. Maybe we try to be the 3 seed. Maybe we try for wild card 1. Maybe if we get wild card 2, we just fight, fight, fight. I think getting into that mentality of let's not say that we're a cup contending team because that puts pressure where we don't need to do that right now. Maybe if we had a more concrete defense, I would say, hey, let's just say that we're a cup contending team. I don't want to say that yet until I kind of know what's going on with the defense. But again, like with all of our younger guys, and I'm not even just defense, but offense, like Dvorsy, Snuggerud, Stansel, like there's so many different guys that could potentially make the team this season that could make a huge impact. So the way that I see it, I think that once we have our solidified, roster for the upcoming season, then we can say, okay, defense, still nervous. But I mean, if we see some guys at camp, some younger guys break through and have a great camp, why would we have to try to get anybody else? So this is more things that I'll be talking about. Um, thank you again. I'm sorry for the delay in episodes. I hate it more than anything, as I love talking blues with you all. So, okay, I will talk to you all another time. Thank you again, and like always, let's go blues.